you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. He is Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy. And we are back in the New England area after a simply phenomenal, educational, and really just all-around great trip over to Dublin and then Belfast and back down to Dublin for our flight home, Pierre. I'm still in awe of how great that trip was. I think, Pierre, you're on mute. We got Pierre having some technical issues. We'll get to him in a second, but I know I can take a guess what he was saying. He's probably has so much praise for the trip there. We made so many wonderful contacts and friends. Of course, we want to thank our good friends at Cara Group Travel for organizing the trip for us, the flight, the hotel, everything. Thank Robert Fitzpatrick and the Belfast Giants for all they did, Marvin McDowell, the whole crew there. Just the whole Cara Group Travel crew on the ground, the ones that are based in Ireland and the ones that are based here. Just so much amazing work that was done behind the scenes there while we were in Ireland. I can't say enough. And, you know, as I said yesterday to Gary Bettman in a scrum that he had with the media at the Bruins Centennial game, the first intermission of their 6-3 win over the Montreal Canadiens, I told him I was in Belfast, and I said I was just astonished at the hockey knowledge and passion over there in Ireland. Cab drivers talking about it with us. The Belfast Giants are huge there, and we got Pierre back right now. And I want to right away, before we go to Pierre too, I got my shirt on for them right now. The Belfast Giants are celebrating their 25th birthday today. As they said, a newspaper writer who they were unable to track down, I guess, but they'll never forget it. He said this will never last. But here they are 25 years later, and here's the Friendship for 9 successful years later, and now we'll have a women's and men's next year. Pierre, what a success story we saw firsthand over there in Belfast.
Yeah, no, 16 great years of the Friendship for, no question. It's been amazing, and you look at it in 25 years of Belfast Giants hockey and tremendous leadership from ownership, tremendous management from Stevie Thornton, obviously Robert Fitzpatrick, is one of the ownership group, the Odyssey Trust. But you asked me a question before I came on live with my mic. The generosity, the hospitality, the professionalism, the level of play in the tournament from all 4 teams, whether it was Merrimack, Harvard, BU, Notre Dame. What an amazing final game between Notre Dame and Boston University. Just so many positive things. The crowds were electrifying. Yes. The hospitality in the arena, walking around Belfast. I mean, there's just so much. I've been to, as Jimmy knows, I've been to a lot of different events, whether it's the Olympics, the Stanley Cup final, lots of, World Junior, World Championships, you name it. I've had the good fortune of being at all of them. This would rival all of those. Yeah. It really would. And hockey's being utilized for the proper reason there. Yep. It's bringing people together. It's not alienating people. It's bringing people together. And I think that's really positive.
Yeah. I just saw the looks in the eyes and the excitement when they would speak from the players, Pierre, about being there and being that tournament and what it means to ring that bell at the end, as BU did after their amazing third period comeback for a 4-3 win. But you could just see when they celebrated. I mean, it was like they were celebrating a bean pod or another tournament in the middle of a season or Hockey East or what have you. It meant something. It means something now. And so that's a credit to everyone behind the Friendship for all they've done there. Sarah Stanton, Robert Fitzpatrick, Martin McDowell, Sarah Fraser, Pierre, they have put this together from the ground level and built it. And it's now a destination place for college teams and now women as well next year.
Well, you know what else? In order for that to happen, you have to have the support of the schools. And you really have to have the support of the league commissioners. And I thought Steve Metcalf represented Hockey East fantastically well. I know Doug Christensen, who played and coached over in Ireland, the head of the ECAC. He's totally on board with this. I have to think in the Atlantic, and I have to think in the CCHA, and I have to think in the Big Ten, that they would totally, and the NCHC, I think all those teams and their administrators would view this as not just a great athletic opportunity, but a great educational opportunity. Jimmy, you and I are wiser today than we were last Monday when we arrived in Ireland.
Yep, for sure. And we learned a lot about the history over there and the people. And Pierre, as you continually pointed out, as we would walk around, whether it was in Dublin or Belfast, just how booming it is right now, and the buildings that are going up and the renovations that are being done to the older facilities, the older architecture there. It's amazing how they've modernized and yet kept their character and their history.
Nothing speaks more to that than being in the Harp Bar.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly.
Yep. Yeah.
Jimmy, that is a history lesson.
Mm-hmm.
The Harp Bars, it's not about consuming adult beverages and going there and getting crazy. It's about enjoying music, meeting people, seeing the decor, knowing the history of the area, going upstairs. Jimmy, some of those pictures we have from the private bar upstairs, with the woodworking from the Titanic, this is historical beyond belief.
Yep.
And we learned so much. That area, when you and I walked around before we went to dinner one night, I don't think you ever felt unsafe. I certainly didn't. And people could not have been more full of spirit of life and hospitality. I'm touched by it. Here's how they say you like something so much you buy it. Yeah. My daughter is going back there December 28th through the 31st because the Belfast Giants played 2 games. So she's taking the train from Dublin up to Belfast. They've been gracious enough to give her tickets to the game, and she's going to 2 games. Sure. Just going to be over there by herself, and she wants to go watch hockey.
That's awesome. That's great stuff. And Pierre, also want to thank in Dublin the Harry Lemon and our good friend Michael, who's been great. He's been helping promote us in our new Instagram page. If you're on Instagram, by the way, we do have a new Insta page now. Been posting a lot of pictures from the trip. It's at iTest Podcast. You can go over there and follow us there. Pierre, and then one more thing before we move on from this trip to Ireland too, the Thanksgiving dinner we had too, and just listening to the different stories about how everything came together, and also you too. You gave an amazing speech, and I know you had to give another one the next morning. You must be all speeched out, by the way, Pierre, after that trip.
I enjoyed it. No, you know what? I'm just grateful for the opportunity, and I loved being there with you. I thought it was a great opportunity for the eye test to grow. It continually grows, not just in North America, but internationally. Jimmy's got some amazing plans for the show going forward. We spent a lot of time trying to build the brand of the show, and a lot of it goes to Jimmy and his creativity. But I would say, Jimmy, the speech on Thanksgiving night was one from the heart.
Oh, I can tell.
And it was really, I think it was important for people to understand the importance for all of us from North America about Thanksgiving and what it means. And that's why I started my speech the way I did. Mm-hmm. And I think it was you that told me it was almost like you felt like you were in church, which I took as a compliment.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was a good speech, Pierre. And one thing that you did stress there was your roots to Ireland, and I didn't obviously have not been down to Cork yet, and I'm gonna make it a
well, next year when we go back, we're gonna go together.
We'll go together. A little. Yeah. But what I can say is, Pierre, and not to sound cheesy, but it's real, is that I've always talked to people that have gone over to Ireland and said when they get there, they can feel those roots. They feel like part of them was already there, and I felt that. There was one moment when we were watching an Irish session. I was moved. I was visibly moved. And
I was at the Cobblestone. Was that the first night at the Cobblestone?
Dublin, and it was
it just was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I could tell you were into it. And what was really cool about that, Jimmy, we walked out of the Cobblestone, which is, by the way, for those that don't know, it's a legendary place in Smithfield, which is one of the areas of Dublin, and it's right near Jameson's Irish Whiskey, the distillery, and it's not far from where the Guinness Storehouse is. Anyways, it is a legendary place, and I had no idea the history. Jimmy was actually explaining it to me about how the musicians play their gigs there, and I had no idea, and I learned a lot just from being around you.
It's one of those places, you'll find them sometimes in cities. I know there's a couple in Montreal where it's become a frequent spot where touring musicians after a show, if they want a nightcap or just want to go and experience the local scene, they end up there and they just jam with the folk singers and the sessions that they have there. And, the likes of Shane McGowan have gone in there. I heard Bono was in there once. So it's definitely a legendary place. And I want to thank your daughter, Justine, for introducing it to us, Pierre. But, just a great trip here. Again, thank you to everybody there. We couldn't have had a better time, and I cannot wait to be part of this again next year. And again, happy birthday to the Belfast Giants. They've got something special going on with that organization.
Hey, Jimmy, did you get a chance to get the boys in Montreal the big puck that they put up, the statue?
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, you know what? I forgot to send it to them, but I'm going to retweet that again right now.
Okay.
And I want to say that that was interesting too when Robert was telling us about that they were going to do this to celebrate their birthday. They built a puck sculpture, Belfast Giants puck, and they believe they're going to find out. They're checking with the Guinness Book of World Records whether it's the largest puck ever built. So we will see if they hit the Guinness record there.
I've never seen one bigger. I got a private showing. I was watching them put it together. I want to say it was on Friday morning that I saw it. Robert Fitzpatrick took Justine and I out there to see it in the Workman. It was actually underneath the tent. They were hiding it from the population, and they had policemen around it. The guard were around it. And all of a sudden I go, what the heck is he doing with us? And we go in this place and there's this massive puck. And just a little inside story. Jimmy put that out this morning. And I said, why did you do that? You're supposed to wait. Something along those lines. And he goes, no, the team actually sent that out. It wasn't me. I was just retweeting. I said, okay, good. Because I didn't want to get in trouble with Robert.
Not going to do that.
Jimmy, he swore me to secrecy. He said, you're not putting this out until the team does. I promise I'll never do that.
Because it went out a lot earlier than they had said it would, too. I was surprised as well that it was already out there. To our production crew, I just sent that in our group text, guys. If you grab that tweet, just let us know, and we'll post up the picture here on the screen here. But Pierre, a lot happened as well in NHL hockey this weekend. We were in transit for some of it, but I want to start where I was yesterday, and we're going to talk a lot about that again tomorrow. So I don't want to get too in detail to the game. I want to talk more about the centennial celebration, my impressions of it. And I know you appreciate, obviously, the history of hockey and the legends of the game. But quickly, Pierre, I want to remind everybody that we're going to have Raymond Bourque, famous Boston Bruin, obviously Stanley Cup champion with the Colorado Avalanche. You hear that clip when we come on the air here all the time. He will be joining us tomorrow to look back on that celebration yesterday at TD Garden, but more specifically on the performance from Charlie McAvoy. Because of people that watch us a lot and our regular listeners and viewers recall, last spring, I believe it was around game 5 or 6,
it was
the Toronto series, he came on and he pretty much mapped out what Charlie McAvoy needs to do to become the player that everybody believes he can be, to become that superstar defenseman. And last night we saw a glimpse of a lot of what Bourque spoke about, Pierre. Charlie McAvoy really seized the moment. I saw his talk to his team after the game when he was given the game puck by Brad Marchand. And he said, there's one thing, maybe we've been forgetting here. And I hope today reminded us of it. And that's how important it is to be a Boston Bruin. So you saw him embrace the moment, the tradition of the team, and try to remind maybe some of the guys, as we said, there's a lot of new players in this roster, Pierre. It takes a while to get acclimated, but he wanted to remind them, you're privileged to be playing for an original 6 franchise, Pierre. And you've said it a million times, how much that means and how much it should mean to players.
You're spot on. And so I'm glad that Brad talked about it. Charlie talked about it. Obviously, Raymond knows what it means. Again, spoiled rotten growing up in Montreal. I never had a losing team to cheer for. Probably the closest I came to tears as a kid was 1969 when the Canadiens didn't make the playoffs on the last night of the year in Chicago. Claude Ruel had to pull the goalie like all the time to try to get back in the game in the second period, and they kept giving up goals. And I was listening to the game on the radio. I remember being in my room crying, darn it, are you kidding me? So you didn't grow up losing very much living in Montreal in those days. But I would tell you this, Jimmy, what you said about a lot of new people in one place couldn't be more accurate. I see it at the junior level. I see it at the college level. I see it at the pro level. we see it all over. And that's where I think leadership matters. The message from management matters, and how you amalgamate and create roles for players. That helps speed up the whole process. And I think some teams do it really well, and I think some teams don't do it very well at all.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit of a recognition, Pierre. You know, we've kind of spoke about it a few times this season, is that, you know, everything goes in cycles. The Bruins have had it for so long. They've had that culture for almost 20 years now, maybe longer. And, you know, sooner or later, it kind of is going to run its course. And I think maybe the Bruins players are sensing that as this season has gotten deeper and they realize they're just not where they need to be. And I think maybe they're taking initiative to kind of remind themselves and remind the new guys, hey, this is a privilege. This is an honor to be here. And you got to remember that every time you throw on that jersey, just as you do for the Canadiens and any other Original Six team.
Oh, you know, and I would even go as far as to say any team in the National Hockey League. It's getting harder and harder to play in this league all the time. It really is. And they all get treated, all these players for all these teams. It used to be back in the day, some teams got treated better than others. That's not the way it works anymore. Just with, you know, the hotels they stay in, the planes they travel on, the therapeutic people that are around the team, you know, the kitchens, the meals that are available to these players now. It's not like what it was when I first started in the league. It's an amazing opportunity and experience for any player. But Jimmy, again, going back to something you talked about with the Bruins, I think their come to reality moment was when they got a good man fired. Yeah. When they got Jimmy Montgomery fired, I think they realized, you know what, these guys aren't kidding around anymore. Yeah. You know, they've been talking a lot. They've been leaking a lot of stuff to the media. They're not messing around anymime. And I like living here. I'm thinking, I'm just paraphrasing what a player would say. I like living here. And I'm not in the mood to get traded out of here. It's a pretty good place to play, and it's a great place to live.
Exactly. All right. Before we move on to another NHL topic here, we do have that picture. So let's bring it up here of the Belfast Giants. Giant puck. Look at that thing. There you go. They said it was amazing. It's great. I love it.
It is. And so great job. I wish we could see the other side of it, because it, you know, on this side it says they said it wouldn't last. But on the other side, there's a really profound sentence. And I don't want to make a mistake. So I'm going to wait until I actually see it. And then I'm going to send it to you or tell you, Jimmy, and then you can read it tomorrow or later. But it's really profound. It's really smart, and it's really well done.
Yeah. And I think one of the things too, Pierre, and you stressed it a lot, and you were so impressed by it, was Robert Fitzpatrick's vision of how not only he's running that team, but the whole area around their arena, SSE Arena, and how it's been renovated basically. And just, there was a team that's been very successful in the NHL that reminded you of what you saw in Belfast.
Yeah, it's a Tampa Bay model. It reminds me of everything Mr. Vinnick did down in Tampa. It was a real estate play. But basically it was rehabilitating a part of Tampa that was kind of falling apart right by the canal. And they rebuilt their shipping business. Well, the harbor in Belfast is beautiful. They started building buildings around it. There's a massive, obviously, Marriott there. There's a beautiful JW Marriott there. They're magnificent, condominiums that have been built around the arena that were never there when I first started coaching down there many, many years ago, when my buddy Terry Crisp was actually coaching the team back then. So there's so many things that have changed over time. But I would just say that they remind me very much of the Tampa Bay ownership model. And that is, Jimmy, that is as good an ownership model as you'll find anywhere in the world. And you saw it. You see the boats around the arena.
Both places. Good call by you. It reminded me a lot of that, Pierre, minus the weather.
Yeah, no, okay. Let's not get a little too
That's not Ireland's fault. That's just what it is. They were, they were dealt those cards. It's nothing.
Yeah, no.
It was great, though. It was something to see the vision and see the way he's executing it is something else. And the way they mix in education as well.
Well, that's the good thing. A lot of those players, if they choose to go to school, that are and they're getting paid a real nice wage, and they're living. You saw where they're living. I showed you their living accommodations, spectacular. But they can get a master's degree over there from Ulster University. Which is walking distance to where they live.
Everything is pretty much walking.
it's amazing. And we know Bobo Carpenter, who scored a goal the other night, by the way, in one of their wins when they were over in Scotland. Bobo Carpenter's getting his MBA over there.
Yeah.
So he's not only getting paid, but he's getting his MBA for nothing.
Yeah.
That's awesome for those players. That's really good.
And it was pretty much a BU reunion there for Stevie Thornton, one of the Belfast Giants. And by the way, I mean, talk about a wonderful host. Like, you can anything you needed, Steve had it all the time, and maybe more than you needed, he'd offer. I mean, he was just such a hospital host. It was unreal. And you got to talk for a while with Prendergrass, another BU alum.
Mike Prendergrass, he was a good player back in the day. He and Stevie played together in the early 90s for the great Jack Parker. And speaking of Coach Parker, what a performance from his grandson, Shane LaChance, in the championship, not only in the championship game, but in the qualifying game to get into the final. Yeah. I mean, what a performance. And I presented him the Player of the Game award on after the first game, and he won it again after the second game. Yeah. And what was amazing to me is he took charge, and I know Coach Parker probably will get this. He took charge of that final game in the last 12 minutes. Mm-hmm. You can see, I'm going to go out on the limb right now. He was a 6th-round pick in 2021 of the Edmonton Oilers. I'm going to say right now that it's not going to be a long period of time after he leaves BU that he won't be playing in the National Hockey League for the Edmonton Oilers. I'll be absolutely shocked if he's not.
Yeah, he was something. And, of course, that 95 national championship team for BU is coming up here. So a lot of those guys were over there together, and that must have been fun for them. Obviously, Coach Pandolfo for BU, and congratulations to him. All right. Talk about the team, Pierre, obviously, that we're familiar with, and a lot of our viewers, that the Bruins beat 6-3 yesterday. And, look, nice third period. I'll give them that, just like at MSG the day before, so I'm not going to take that away from them. And look, are the Bruins a better team on paper? Yes. But still, what is up with these starts that the Montreal Canadiens are having right now?
It's been something that's haunted them all year. They're going to have to look at it internally as a coaching staff and as a leadership group, whether it's Nick Suzuki or Mike Matheson, whomever, the voices in the room. I'm not in their room, so I don't know. Obviously, Nick's got to be one of those guys. Here's what I did. I looked at their next 7 games, okay? Their next 7 games, 6 of them are at home. They're home against the Islanders. They're home against Nashville. That's a back-to-back for Nashville. They're home against Washington. That's a back-to-back for Washington. They play Anaheim. That's a first of a 4-game trip for Anaheim. These are all at home. They're home versus Pittsburgh. They go to Winnipeg. Then they're home to Buffalo. Their season is from now until the end of those games. If they do not, I'm going to say of those 7, they've got to win 5 of 7. And if they don't, they're not making a play. They're not even going to play meaningful games. So
in the mix.
In the mix. So this is their season, and they've got to pursue every game like it. Now, the good news for them is Cole Caulfield's heating up at the right time. The good news for them is Josh Anderson's starting to accept his role within the team. And it's not just about fighting, and what a hellacious fight with Jacob Trouba on Saturday afternoon, but it's about his penalty killing. And now he's forechecking with a presence, which matters a lot. But they need more from a lot of guys, Jimmy. Yeah. They need more from a lot of, and Juraj Slafkovsky is one of those guys. And you know that I'm bullish on that player. They needed a lot more from him. A lot more.
I'm with you on that. You look, I'm watching them yesterday, Pierre, and they just seem to have a lot of trouble gaining momentum up the ice. They just don't seem to be looking ahead and seeing where the openings are going to be. It seems more rushed, or even that sometimes it looked like they were rushing themselves. Do you think they're just maybe trying too hard at times, or pressing?
I think it's a team that doesn't have a lot of confidence.
Okay.
You watch that game from New York, they're down 3-1, and then you see all of a sudden they start to push back because Caulfield starts to go haywire offensively. And what a great pass, by the way, in that game. To Suzuki from Lane Hudson, to get that thing tied up. That's just a thing of beauty. But no, to me, they look almost like they're waiting for doom to arrive rather than to create doom for the opposition. And that's usually the sign of a team that doesn't have a lot of confidence.
All right. Moving on, Pierre. Staying with the Bruin theme, though, a former Bruin is catching fire.
DeBrusk.
Nuts right now. Woo!
Oh man, Jake, three goals in Detroit yesterday.
Last week against the Bruins.
He's just
Yep.
He's got 10 goals. The number 10 works for Vancouver. He's got 10 goals. And Kevin Lankinen, I had no idea about this till this morning. He's got 10 straight wins. They're all on the road. No goalie in the history of the NHL has had their first 10 wins for a team like he has with Vancouver on the road. Not even Glenn Hall did that. I think Glenn Hall had 9. I had no idea that Lankinen had just established that record, which he did yesterday in Detroit.
I want to give credit, too, when you talk about Lankinen. We had Rick Dhaliwal on a couple weeks back here, remember?
Yeah.
He brought him up to us. Good on Rick.
No,
he said, "Wow,
he did." Rick's always ahead of it. I like that. Yeah, no.
Yep.
Good for you, Jimmy, for bringing up. See, Rick's not a fanboy. He just calls it the way it is. If it's good, it's good. If it's not good, well, it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
He's not playing the role of fanboy. There's another thing, and Jimmy knows I pay attention to tactics and trends around the league. And here's one that I found really interesting. There are 3 defensemen right now leading their teams in scoring. One, Hughes in Vancouver. Their road record is 10-2. The next one, Zach Werenski in Columbus.
Yes.
And he's plus 12. Yeah. And the next one is Roman Josi in Nashville. He's minus 14. So listen to this. Hughes is leading his team in scoring. He's plus 8. Werenski's leading his team in scoring in Columbus. They're plus 12, and they're relevant. They got a chance to be a playoff team right now. They're knocking on the door. And Roman Josi in Nashville, he's leading his team in scoring. He's minus 14. Those numbers don't lie, Jimmy. It tells you about a trend that's being established with certain teams. Mm-hmm. And, we've been talking about Zach Werenski on this show for how long, Jimmy?
Since the beginning of the season, even before.
Probably. And if he's not on Team USA, and I have to believe he will be, that would be, just not right. That being said, that kid's playing phenomenal hockey. So that's one trend. And then another one is, I talked about Vancouver's road record at 10-2. Minnesota's road record is 10-3-1.
Wow.
I mean, their road record is actually it's 10-1-3. 10-1-3. I apologize. I misspoke. It's 10-1-3. So you know what the next game for Vancouver and Minnesota, you know what it is? Vancouver and Minnesota.
Oh. And where's the game?
Tomorrow. It's in Minnesota. Okay. So something's going to break.
Yeah, something's going to give there.
How about Kaprizov? How's Kaprizov doing?
Oh, my gosh. I want to ask you something about that, too. And by the way, Oilers 8-3-1 on the road. What is it sometimes where teams are just way better on the road than they are at home? Is it just getting away from all the hassle and the distractions at home? Is there a rhyme and reason to it too, or no?
Some teams just get super motivated being amongst their team. You get almost disjointed when you're home sometimes.
Yep.
You worry about way too much. But I would say that if you don't have a good, and Brian Burke used to say this all the time when I worked for him in Hartford, if you don't have a good home record, it's really hard to be consistent. And he's right. Not every team's going to be great on the road. They're going to be okay if they're a playoff team. They're not. Some of them aren't going to be great, but they're going to be great at home. But if you can do both, be great at home and great on the road, you're obviously talking about a special situation.
Yeah, because Pierre, yesterday the Bruins got their first third period goal at home in 10 games.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's phenomenal.
That's amazing. That's an amazing thing. Another thing I want to talk about is Toronto.
Yes.
They are decimated by injury. It's unbelievable. Listen to the guys that are hurt. Pacioretty's an LTIR. David Kamp's on LTIR. Kelly Yarncroke's on LTIR. Dakota Mermis is on LTIR. Max Domi is injured. Bobby McMahon is injured. They're not going to play McCabe. Jake McCabe's not playing tonight. So, and then you got Ryan Reeves is out. Hakanpää is out, and Philippe Myers is out. What Craig Berube's done there is unbelievable, and he's not getting nearly enough credit for what's going on there. And they got the good news is they got Austin Matthews back.
Mm-hmm. And 2
And
assists.
Austin, his first game in Tampa, 2 assists. You know, Matthew Nyes is back. He gets a goal in that game. There's a lot. They're getting a trial by fire, and they're handling it amazingly well.
Yep, Pierre, they finally become the sum of the parts for the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's the way I look at it. They bought in, and they're a team. And you haven't always. It's been up and down that way for the last few years, and that's kind of been why they fizzle out in the playoffs. Is that they're more worried about offense or highlight reel stuff, and now they're just going out there and they're playing simple hockey, and they're buying into what Berube's selling.
You know what's amazing? They got 2 games in hand on Florida, and they're 1 point behind. You know, and now again, Florida went on a little bit of a backwards lurch, and then they got out of it by beating Toronto the other night in Florida.
Right.
Toronto just didn't have their A game. But I'm just telling you, this is the best I've seen Toronto look since the late Pat Quinn coached them. I haven't seen Toronto look this good in a long time.
Another team that's really bought into their new coach, Pierre, we were talking about Werenski there with the Columbus Blue Jackets. I mean, it's hard not to cheer for these guys because obviously what happened over the summer with Johnny Gaudreau, but just the way everybody sort of looked past them, and they're a scrappy bunch, and they're more than scrappy. They've got some skill. They've got some real skill.
You know who's had we talked about Werenski obviously having a huge year there. You know who's having a great year there? Sean Monahan.
I was just going to say Sean Monahan.
Sean Monahan's having an unbelievable year to start there. Now, obviously, he was probably the tightest with Johnny Gaudreau because they play together in Calgary. Yeah. And it's interesting that Columbus's next game after they torched Chicago 6-3 last night in Chicago, they're into Calgary. Then they're into Edmonton. Then they're into Vancouver. Then they're into Winnipeg. Then they get home. But if they could ever go on a run on this road trip, they're very relevant. It's like what I was talking about with Montreal. Montreal's got to take advantage of their home cooking. And if they do, I think they can get back into being relevant. If they don't, they're going to be irrelevant the rest of the year. And it's the same with Columbus. If they go out on this road trip, and they already started it with a win in Chicago, and they're relevant coming out of this road trip, they're going to be a beast to play against in Columbus in particular.
And by the way, I saw that Gaudreau's father was there practicing with both teams today in Calgary. It was pretty cool. So that's going to be an emotional game between those two tomorrow. Pierre, just bouncing around the league. One thing I want to ask you about, and we actually didn't talk about this before, but I know I can throw things at you. What's your reaction to the USA and Canada junior team preliminary rosters?
Yeah, I saw both.
Missing people, I thought, eh?
It's easy to say that. I don't disrespect the whole evaluation process. It's not easy. No. It's really difficult. And sometimes good players, I'll never forget Danny Cleary got cut 3 times.
Yeah. And
he went on to have an amazing NHL career. He's a friend of mine, so I'm biased, but Danny had an amazing career. He got cut. He at least was invited to the camp. This goes to, remember when I told you last year, you mean they couldn't put Bradley Nadeau on the team? Do you remember me telling you that? I was mad. Remember how upset I was? Canada did not have a good World Junior last year. I was like, no. You kidding me? I've seen Bradley Nadeau play 1,000,000 times for Penticton, a bunch of times for Ben Bar at Maine. He's one of the top scorers in all of NCAA hockey. He can't get on your team? Are you kidding me? So guess what they did this year? He's playing in the American Hockey League, and they've invited him to their camp. That's one thing that really stood out to me today, Jimmy. I was going over those lists. I'm like, please, no. Yeah. What were you doing last year? Come on.
I know. But at least he's here now. What about no Beckett Seneke?
I think what people need to understand is
it's not all about star power. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't get redundant with stars. Mm-hmm. This is a scary stat, and you can go check it out because I'm not making it up. Okay. The 9 years that I broadcast the World Junior for Canada, starting in 2003, go look it up. They got to the gold medal game every single year.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there it is.
Every single year. And I can tell you how they did it. And I have no problem sharing this with you. They never empowered players with early, you're going to be on the team statements. You had to make that team. And I'll never forget this. The Minnesota Wild coach, John Hines, he was an assistant coach for Mike Eaves in the 2004 World Junior, which was in Helsinki, Finland. First time the Americans ever won. And John called me up. He called me up. And he really wasn't a high-profile coach at the time.
Right.
And he said, hey, I got to ask you. I said, sure. Why do the Canadiens do so well in this tournament? I said, because they don't create spoiled brats. You could be Eric Lindros. If you don't check your ego at the door, it doesn't matter. You're not making the team. I'll never forget Corey Perry was a leading scorer in the Ontario Hockey League going into the 2005 World Junior, and he was life and death to make the team. And Wayne Gretzky called my partner, Gord Miller, and he said, hey, how's Corey Perry doing? And Gord says, life and death to make the team. And Wayne didn't want to hear that. Wow. So Gord says to me, Wayne wants to talk to Corey. Can you get him up here? So I went down to the locker room. I asked the coach if it was okay, Brent Sutter, and he said, yeah, no problem. So all of a sudden he comes up, Corey Perry, and on the line is Wayne Gretzky. And Gretzky gives him an unbelievable pump-up story. Wow. And the rest is history. And he plays on the line with Crosby and Bergeron. And they're, think about that line. Bergeron, Crosby, and Corey Perry. Like, that's crazy stuff. You can't. Anyways, so I told Johnny Hines, I said, those Canadian players, any guy that makes a team, they have to make it. They're not like piggybacked into the thing. And so when I see these lists, I respect them because I know how hard it is to get on those lists.
Pierre, I want to ask you, are there any players that stand out to you who didn't make it the first go around, then came back, worked hard, didn't get discouraged, and made it the second time they had a chance? That really stood out to you.
That's a really good question. Over the time that I did it, I can't really think of one. You know, and we used to say this all the time. A lot of people want these 18-year-old kids to be on that team. It's not really an 18-year-old tournament. It's a 19 and sometimes 20-year-old tournament because there are some 20-year-olds that are eligible to play. It's hard. You know, Crosby's the youngest Canadian to ever score a goal in the World Junior. He was 16. You know, I saw Ovechkin play in 3 straight World Juniors. That's hard to do. I saw Malkin play in 2 straight World Juniors. That's hard to do. So actually sorry, I'm wrong. Malkin played in 3 as well. Malkin played in Helsinki, Malkin played in Grand Forks, and Malkin played in Vancouver. Played in 3.
I'm gonna go check this out for tomorrow because there's somebody at the top. I can't think who it is. It's stuck in my head, but I can't think of the name right now. And I think you were the one who pointed out to me one time when I had you on another show, just about the perseverance and what it takes for these kids, because it's a big thing. It means a lot, you know, when you don't make it.
It's hard. It's a hard deal. You know, I can tell you, and at least Canada became more civilized. They used to do these late night or early morning calls and tell the kids they were cut, you know, either in the lobby of the hotel or the middle of a parking lot. And believe it or not, the TV cameras would be there to watch it. It almost became a gross, unfair circus. It really was not polite. It wasn't good. Hockey Canada got away from that. I'm not going to say the player's name. I'm not going to say the tournament. But I saw a guy get cut who's had an amazing NHL career, and it was his one time to play in the tournament. He got cut, and he was bawling his eyes out at the airport. I don't think he's ever been cut from a team. And I just took him aside and I put my arm around him and said, you're going to get the last laugh, man. You're going to be playing in the NHL for a long period of time. Don't take this personal. You know, the team's probably going to do well. You would have helped them maybe be better, but that was really a tough, I'll never forget that. And it was not in a huge airport. It was in a small airport, and everybody was kind of looking at the poor kid. And I just said, you know what, I can't take this anymore. And I just went over and pulled him aside. But it's one of those things I'll never forget.
Yep. All right. Well, Pierre, you know what? We've got a lot of questions lining up, so I want to get to that. But I also want to remind everybody, specifically Leafs fans, Pierre, you are going to be on the Bet Rivers post-game show for Leafs game starting tonight, eh?
Yeah, can't wait. Working with Sarah Sivian. We'll be doing that the rest of the way, especially in the weekday games. So looking forward to that. I'm also working with Tony Marinaro on the Montreal Canadiens post-game shows during the week. We'll have a game tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. The Islanders are in Montreal, so Tony and I will be breaking it down. But yeah, tonight I'm working with Sarah, and I'm looking forward to it. Big game with Chicago.
And Bet Rivers is really starting to pick up too, eh, Pierre?
Yeah, they are. I think the biggest thing, Jimmy, is that hockey has become a booming sport in that industry. So, yeah.
Good stuff. All right, listen, let's go right now to our good friends, Betway. You know them well, and they've got a heck of a deal going right now for the holiday season. You can go over right now, feel the action with Betway, and get a free bet up to $200, even if your first bet loses. That's a pretty good deal. Scan that QR code right in front of you right there. Go on the screen, or if you want, you can click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is available for new customers only. Terms and conditions apply. Offer not available in Ontario. And remember, you must be 18 plus. You always must play responsibly. Let's do Murph's Sick Pick of the Day.
It's time for Sick Picks. Brought to you by Betway.
No parlays for me today, Pierre. Sticking to one game, and the game I think a lot of people will be watching, a big one. The Battle of the Hudson River, the New York Rangers and New Jersey Devils. New Jersey goes into MSG. We all know the controversy that continues to surround the Rangers. Even when they won the other day, they were not happy with that third period. A lot of stuff following them around right now. They're looking to escape it on the ice against their rival, but I'm sorry. I think that misery continues. I'm taking the New Jersey Devils as a road favorite here over the New York Rangers on the money line. All right, let's get to the Q&A. Alex Evanowski. How's it going, Alex? Here come the Blue Jackets. Am I wrong to think this team reminds me of the up-and-coming Blackhawk and or Penguins teams of the 2000s? It's an interesting analogy.
Well, no, there's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
I think Alex knows what we think of Adam Fantilli.
Mm-hmm.
We saw a great one-time shot the other day, last night actually, by Kent Johnson. I think that's a big positive sign for them. They've got, Chinikov, who's having a good year. They got a lot going on. They're positive. I like that. I think Donnie Waddell's kind of fallen into a real healthy environment there. They've got some good young players. They still got some work on their defense. Mm-hmm. I still think they have some, even though Merzlikins made a couple real good saves, I still think they've got some work to do in goal.
Yeah.
But no, they're definitely trending the right way. They are. There's no question they are.
Nice. And you know what else? They've got plenty of cap space. So if they continue this and they want to make a move, they're in good shape. All right, next question. Aaron St. Pierre. The Bruins rarely lack the firepower. Yeah, they could use some guy named Jake DeBrusk right now to make big moves, though. They have size and strength, but where's the skill? Aaron, you're dead on. That is the biggest thing I think going for the Bruins right now is that they can't score. And, they're going to need their goalie to keep him in it. I think Swayman has been getting better. I didn't like some of the goals he let in against Vancouver, even though I thought the Bruins should have won that game. But I thought the two goals he let in were, but he was good yesterday. But yeah, they need scoring in that top six.
I agree.
All right, next question. Max R. I can't wrap my head around why they hand out plus minus for empty net goals. Thoughts on that? And is there something about a different stat that bugs you? That's a good point.
Well, the only thing is that, when they have the plus minus, when you pull the goalie, you score. So I don't know. It's tough, but you're out there for a reason. I mean, at some point they have to have a delineation, but there's really not a lot of stats that bug me. You know what? Scotty told me a long time ago, there's certain stats you pay attention to. There's certain ones you don't, and just move forward. The number one thing is how many W's do you have? The one stat, and I tell Jimmy this all the time, and we look at it. I was trying to show him on the trip is goal differential. I think goal differential can tell you a lot about how a team is playing. I really do.
You want to know what's wrong with the Pittsburgh Penguins? Go look at their goal differential right now. Yeah. All right, next question. Gabriel Lamb. I don't like to see a coach get fired, but at what point does Nashville consider a change, whether it's a shake-up kind of trade or a coaching change? I mean, you got to think it's Gabriel. I don't know which it's going to be, and I'm with you. I'd rather see it be a trade because I don't like when the coaches are scapegoats, but I mean, something's going to happen there. Steven Stamkos the other day, Pierre,
I saw it. We were over in Europe when that came out, actually.
Yeah. It's not in a good place.
No. So here's the one thing. We just talked about Roman Josi leads their team in scoring, but he's minus 14. And he gets a lot of ice time. He probably plays more minutes than anybody else in their team. But still, he's minus 14. And that was not what everybody was expecting in Nashville this year, especially after they got Marchessault and they got Stamkos. They were not expecting that. We talked about it last year. If they weren't getting offense from Gustav Nyquist, if they weren't getting it from Ryan O'Reilly, if they weren't getting it from Phil Forsberg, they weren't winning games last year. They go out and add 2 high-profile scoring guys, and they're still not getting it done. I think there's going to be a trade there before there'll be a coaching firing.
Pierre, the likelihood that one of the guys you bring in could get traded, can you ever think of a situation where that's happened, where they're just so fast they said, nope, this isn't going to work, we got to move on?
Yeah, sometimes that happens. I couldn't give you chapter and verse, but maybe back in my day it was a little more preeminent than it is now, because they didn't have these no moves and these no trades as easily as they get them right now. But that's happened before.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Steve Lash. Habs carried 3 goalies last season because they were worried about Primo getting claimed off waivers. Primo has not been sharp this season. Do you wait until Fowler comes? You make a change? It's a great point. I mean, I wouldn't too much right now.
I wouldn't worry about it right now. Let Jacob Fowler play his year at Boston College, and he's comes off a win Friday night against Dartmouth. It was a hard-fought game. Dartmouth really moved up. They're a top 5 team in the country right now, pairwise. So BC gets a win, and BC was coming off a loss last Saturday night at Northeastern, which was a physical, hard-nosed, tough game. And they bounced back with a win against a quality opponent like Dartmouth, and Jacob was a big part of it. So I don't know what they're going to do, Montreal. But the one thing I'd say, I'm very confident that Jacob Fowler will be the guy down the road and not too far down the road for them.
Yeah, I think right now they know that too, so they want to get too obsessed or overdo it there with the goaltending position. All right, next question. Alex Ivanowski, does Stevie Y stay the course, or does he make a move soon? That's another place something's going to give. I
think they do something, don't you, Jimmy?
Yeah.
And one of the things that's going on there, they've got some injuries with the goaltending position. So that will be interesting. Yeah. That'll be interesting to see what they do. They got a lot of goalies. They do. And Trey Augustine, by the way, is an elite goalie at Michigan State. I think Michigan State's 2 or 3 in the country. I don't know the latest poll today. But he's going to play for the World Junior team. He's going to be for Team USA. So they're in a good spot. And that Carter Guylander is a real good goalie. Sebastian Koss is a real good goaltender. They've got goaltending. I think their defense keeps getting better all the time. They got good young defensemen. They just have to get mature. But I don't know what Stevie will do. I really don't know what he'll do. It's been 9 years, I think, Jimmy, since they played a playoff game, and they haven't played one yet in their Little Caesars Arena, which is mind-shattering, unbelievable.
Pierre, in the USHO poll right now, Michigan State is actually number 1, followed by Denver and Boston College at 3.
There you go.
All right, next question. Randy Workman, Jimmy and Pierre, can Pierre tell when there are signs of coaches losing the dressing room?
I think so. Effort level on the ice, lack of attention to detail with game plans, players not communicating very well, players lipping off to the coach. They're signs.
Body language on the bench.
Yeah, body language. They're signs. Frustration from the coach. The coach may give him a game plan, and he's like, these guys aren't doing what I'm asking them to do.
No, yeah.
And, we see that from time to time too, and that's frustrating.
All right, next question. Aaron St. Pierre, are you guys this juiced about the Leafs? They've just been getting great goaltending. Yeah, I mean, we've been giving them credit where it's due. They are a different team this year for sure.
No, Joe Wall, listen, I watched the Tampa game very, very early this morning. To be totally fair, I told Jimmy, and I can just tell you, Joseph Wall made a save on Mikey Esamont in the first period, and if he doesn't make that save, I think that game's a totally different game. But he does make it, and then he goes on to have a real good game. The Leafs let their guard down in the third period, but really solid, I thought. Yep. The truth is that, Stolarz was a steal. You go check the tapes of the eye test. When it happened, we said this might be the number 1 steal in free agency. So I don't know who in Toronto scouted him or watched them, but that was a heck of a pickup. And I got to think, connection to the London Knights, they're really tight with the London Knights, and he played there many, many moons ago. Yeah. But I would just say Stolarz and Wall are a tremendous tandem right now.
Yeah, and the defense is better in front of them as well. All right, next question. Shane Oliver. Hey, Shane. Hi, guys. Pierre, in my hockey world, I would never put Hudson and Matheson together. It just seems too offensive and neither can back each other up. Who should Hudson be paired with?
Well, David Savard for now, I think, and that's what they've tried to do a lot. But I think long term, we have to see. The one thing I'd say, and I did this too, Jimmy, it's really important for fans in Montreal. And look, I know there's so many good writers and hockey people in Montreal, so I'd never try to say nobody's paid attention to this. But I would tell you, I haven't read it anywhere or heard it anywhere. And I told Jimmy about it this morning when I was talking to him. If you look at Quinn Hughes' record when he came into the NHL, forget the first 5 games he played his 1 year coming out of Michigan, but his first 2 years, go look at his minuses, Jimmy. I think he's minus 34, minus 35 in 2 years. Lane Hudson's going to be a minus player this year. But if you can honestly sit there and tell me you don't see similarities between Lane Hudson and Quinn Hughes, then you're not watching Vancouver enough. Because go see the first 2 years, Jimmy, on his, and he's never been a minus after his second year in the league.
Yeah, second full season, he was a minus 24, and then he hasn't gone back. He's been plus 10, plus 15, plus 38, and he's a plus 8 so far this year.
So that's what my point is. So, again, we study tactics and trends in the show, and I'm not trying to say other guys don't do that. I'm sure they do. But I know that I haven't read that anywhere. Yeah. And everybody's going after Lane Hudson. I'm like, no. You need to study this because the similarities of him coming out of BU and Quinn Hughes coming out of Michigan are very similar. In fact, I can tell you right now, Lane Hudson had way more points at BU than Quinn Hughes had at Michigan.
And consider the team around him right now. I mean, it's just that's a factor in this as well. So I don't
100%. But I would say, so if you were to ask me, the perfect partner for him would be a guy like Jeff Bukaboom was for Brian Leetch back in the day. And the closest Montreal has for that is David Savard right now.
All right, next question. Justin Thornton, what do you guys think of San Jose's play so far?
So improved.
You know what? They've improved a lot. They're fun to watch here. They're fun to watch.
Celebrini's is advertised. Celebrini's
player of the week, by the way. Rookie of the month again.
What else was smart? They realized your friend from St. Sebastian's, Mike Greer, realized we don't have enough character on this team. We don't have enough leadership on this team. We better go out and get some guys that can drive that quotient of the game. You know, bringing in Barclay Goodrow was smart. Tyler Toffoli was smart. They brought in some guys that know how to lead. And, you know, I think Celebrini's obviously going to be one of those special guys that everybody says, you know, he was really good. And I'll use my description again, Jimmy, which I told you right from day one with this player. He is Jonathan Toews with offense. And that's not to say Jonathan didn't score. He scored a lot. This guy just has a better shot than Jonathan had. Yeah,
and I want to mention Will Smith too. I mean, I said to Pierre, I think it was last week, I said, Pierre, I don't know. I mean, do you think he would have been better off staying at BC? And as Pierre correctly pointed out, if it meant that much to him to get a national championship, then yes. But other than that, he's going to learn more. And you know what, Pierre? He is. You can see he's starting to learn and apply those lessons as well.
Look, I'm not even going to pretend on this. And I'm not trying to make people mad I'm just telling you right now, Ryan Leonard is an NHL player.
Yeah.
Gabe Perreault, so he's a Washington Capitals first round. Gabe Perreault is an NHL player. Both those guys, and I get it. This is a compliment to Greg Brown and Boston College. Both those guys are super elite talents. Unbelievable. I personally think they should be in the NHL, but I get why they went back. I totally get it. And I respect them for it. And every time I go watch either one of them play, I'm just like, wow, these guys are good. They're really good.
Yep. All right, next question. Brad K. With the Leafs winning without Matthews and the Caps winning without Ovi, are teams too dependent on their stars when they're in the lineup? I think that happens sometimes.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. But the one thing I'll say is the good news for Toronto, and I'm using that, guys stepped up. And one of the guys that really stepped up was Johnny Tavares, and the other guy that stepped up was Mitchell Marner.
Yeah.
And when those two, and they got a lot of stars, obviously Nylander's another one, but when they got stars like that, and A lot of people wondered how Johnny would approach this season because he had the seat taken away from him. I think he's handled it. And didn't we talk about that over in Ireland?
We talked about it a lot. Yeah,
he's handled it so well.
The Marner thing's huge too, Pierre. Just because he's had so many things from him, so many critics come at him saying he's too soft, and he's out there paying the price, and he's getting the offense when they need it.
He needs a contract.
When he needs a contract.
He needs a contract.
All right, next question. Sound the siren. I'm selfishly a Hurricane guy, but how amazing would it be if Columbus can somehow squeak into the playoffs? I think it would be a great story. I said it in the beginning of the season. I was hoping it would happen. I had just interviewed Don Waddell for RG, and I don't know. There was something about – I didn't think they'd make the playoffs, but there was something about that interview and the way he spoke of the players that made me feel like they weren't going to be the easiest out that people thought they might be. And that's kind of the way it's gone, but they've been better than that. They haven't just been like losing valiantly. They're winning, and they're doing it, and they're really buying in there. So
you know what? They're buying into what is being sold by Dean Evison too.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important part of this thing. Very important part of it.
As you pointed out too, Billy Guerin never wanted to let him go.
Oh, it's a whole look. Stuff happens.
Exactly.
Stuff happens. Move on.
All right. Next question. Max R. Every time I watch Florida, I'm amazed how good Reinhart is. He is the most under the radar star in the league. Couldn't agree more, Max. Couldn't agree more.
Max, everything you're saying there is correct. And I told Jimmy when he left Buffalo to go to Florida, I'm like, watch this guy just explode. And he is. But I would say there's one other guy. Like Reinhardt's already won the cup. He's, 50-goal guy. Kyle Connor, I think. Kyle Connor, to me, is probably the most underappreciated superstar in the league. He's a superstar player. Kyle Connor's a superstar player.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with that. All right, next question. Aaron St. Pierre, what's going on with the Rangers? If we knew, we'd be millionaires.
No, you know. They got a little too big for their britches. They got a little too big for their britches coming out. Not trading away Jacob Trouba this summer really hurt the infrastructure of that team. Trouba showed a lot the other day, though. That fight with Josh Anderson was hellacious. That takes a lot of courage to do that. And he did it. And he wasn't fighting for himself there. He was fighting for his team. I don't know. The biggest thing with the Rangers, I think there's some guys that have been very below where they need to be. Zibanejad's been below where he needs to be. Adam Fox, a friend of this show, Adam Fox has been not where he needs to be. Keandre Miller, not where he needs to be. There are a lot of guys not, and I think at the beginning of the year, Jimmy, when they lost Ryan Lindgren for a little while, and he came back with all that facial protection, he's an important part of that group, and I don't think he's 100%. So.
And I just think the whole, as you mentioned, the Trouba thing is hung over them like a cloud, and you predicted it would, Pierre. Mm-hmm. But the whole thing about those names getting out there with him and Kreider, that's just not good. It just kills your environment around the team. It's just the real good, and you're good at this. The real good media guys are going to find out who leaked that and why they leaked it. I'm working on it. They've not figured it out, but we'll see.
You know what I mean, though, Jimmy? Because I told you this summer when that stuff with Trouba happened, I said to you, Jimmy, this is not good. This is bad.
No.
And then when we read that stuff, remember we read that stuff in the paper before we went overseas, and I was like, Jimmy, this is not good.
No, it's not.
There's something going on that's not right. That I can just tell you, sure, there are people that leak in everywhere. Look, it happens. Even the Islander guys leak, and trust me, you never want to leak with Lou Lamoriello because if he finds out, you're going to lose your job.
You're done.
But this one's not. There's something wrong with this one. There's just something wrong with it.
Off. All right, next question. HDR DGS, afternoon, gents. Would Primo be taken if the Habs put him on waivers? Thanks. We had referenced that earlier. I don't know if he could be. I mean,
he could. It's a risky. That would be a risky one.
A year ago, right? It almost was a cinch that he was going to be taken.
Well, he would have been taken by Philadelphia, I believe, just because of what happened with Carter Hart, the Carter Hart stuff. So I think that they're a little deeper in goal now in Philadelphia, but I still would think that there would be somebody that would take him.
All right, next question. Renaissance Resistor is Shesterkin walks. Where does he land? I don't know. That's so far down the road.
It's a good question, though, Jimmy. And I'll tell you why I think it's a good question.
I wonder if you say the same team I'm thinking.
No, but my point to you, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. I would ask you the question. if he were to leave New York, is there a team out there that would have enough cap room to pay him $12 million or more?
No, not really.
So he would take less
money. No, he won't take some. I could see a team. He's that good. I think a team would move a cap hit.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
If I knew that, I'd say, yes, Jimmy's right. I don't know that. But all I'm saying, Jimmy, is that he might even want more than 12. I don't know.
Here's the one thing I'll say, and this, we're just playing hypotheticals here, so please don't say we're reporting this right now. We're just having fun with you guys. Rantanen may be gone in Colorado. There could be some space opening up there.
Yeah, that one I read too. I mean, I don't know about that. I never heard that. Can I just say this to you?
The money comes right there.
We don't like to share everything, but we'll share this with comfort.
Yeah.
Jimmy and I just spent some pretty good time with Joe Sakic, who was over in Ireland scouting.
It was great seeing him.
And you saw us. He and I went to a little corner of the room. We talked. We weren't talking about stuff that need to be exposed, but talked about a lot of Hockey Hall of Fame business because we're both on the committee. But Jimmy, he never once brought up that name.
Wow.
He never once brought up Rantanen's name either.
Yep.
So, I don't know.
We're a long ways from that, but that's the one team that just came to mind and just automatically because they've needed a goalie for so long. But yeah, they're going to have to clear up so much space.
Well, if they don't get a goalie, they're not going to win with this situation. They're just not. They're not going to win.
All right. What do we got? We got rapid fire, 8 more here, Pierre, or what? You got time?
Of course. We're never disappointing our fans. We're really grateful for the questions.
Rock and roll. Steve Lash. Sorry if this was talked about already, but what are your thoughts on the David Jiricek trade? No, we haven't, Steve. That's great that you brought that up.
You go what you think, and I'll go if I don't agree with you.
As quick as I can. So I immediately started texting Pierre when the trade went down, and I said, I feel like maybe they waited too long or they didn't get enough, and or maybe this just shows that Jiricek was overrated, as we were maybe discussing. Maybe the skating was hurting him. And maybe he shouldn't have been taken where he was in the draft. And Pierre said, wait, Jimmy. Look at both sides right now. They're unproven still. Things could change. There's still a lot of runway left here where these guys could develop into the potential that the team saw when they drafted them. So it could work out for both teams. It could work out for one. But Pierre made a good point that this is one of the classic trades where it really is, let's wait until down the line to evaluate it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And thank you for saying that the way you did, Jimmy, because that's exactly what I said to you. And I agree with you in terms of how you present it. The only question I'd have, I think Brock Faber's a superstar player. Mm-hmm. And I wonder how much that makes a transition for a player like Jiricek easier. And Spurgeon is a tremendous leader. Kid like that can help a lot. I think that really helped Spurgeon or helped Faber with Spurgeon's influence there. So, we'll see with Jiricek, but I think this is one of those trades you got to take at least a year.
Yep.
Maybe more to evaluate it.
All right. Next question. Alex Evanelski, any thoughts on who Ken Johnson reminds you of as a player?
He's got speed. He's got a wicked one-timer. He can manufacture offense and make plays. I mean, to compare him to an NHL player, probably too hard for me to do. There are a lot of, there are tons of guys that are out there that play like him. I don't know if he's as good as some of them. I just don't want to put him in that position yet.
All right, next question. Randy Workman, Jimmy and Pierre, does the NHL team ever consider what Colin will do to the AHL team? What calling him up?
Oh, call up. Very seldom. Very seldom. I talked to some AHL coaches a fair bit, and that's why I talked to them. They just want to,
right?
They want to bend an ear, and they're mad. They're like,
that's why it's so amazing what Hershey's doing. I mean, it really is.
Well, that speaks to Danny Brooks and Ross Mahoney and Stephen Bowman and all their scouts in Washington. They just, they do a great job. I saw Dan Brooks yesterday at Northeastern. I saw Brooks Orpik over at Northeastern yesterday. They could have been anywhere, but they chose to go watch Bentley play Northeastern. And, that's why their teams are good. They got guys out there beating the bushes to try to find guys that have an opportunity to play in the American League and then grow their brand to get to the NHL. you know, it's amazing. It's amazing what a lot of these teams do. It really is.
No worries on the wording there, Randy. We figured it out. Next question. McInnes picks. What's up, Andy? I'm never one to put a lot on just one player, but how much different can we expect the Habs to look with Line A in the top 6, specifically the confidence like Pierre mentioned? Happy Ireland was fun. Thanks, Andy.
Andy, what a good question. I agree, by the way. I think Patrick comes in there and just his shot alone is going to open up some space for other players. Because if you don't take away his time and space quickly, you're going to get burned with his shot. So I think that, and then when you overcommit to him, it opens up more ice for other players. So I think a lot. I think it's a really good question. Really good question.
Here, quickly, one person we were talking about today that we continue, unfortunately, I have to have this talk, is Kirby Dach. Like, let's go. If he can't get it going with Line A back, then they really got to reevaluate there, in my opinion.
You know, people in New Montreal are mad at him because he took the double minor on Saturday afternoon. I don't have that big a problem with a guy being aggressive. That's what you want him to be. Go out there and get after somebody. You know what I mean? That's got to be. So if I were coaching, I'd say, okay, we were actually happy with the fact that you were aggressive and you're trying to establish yourself. But now we're going to do it on an everyday basis. We're going to do it almost on a shift-to-shift basis. And we're going to learn not to take penalties. But we're going to work together on this. And I think there's more there than people want to give the kid credit for. And, Jimmy, you made the point. I didn't. You made it. He said something about himself in the media.
Yeah. Yes.
When we were actually overseas. We were overseas.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? Good for Jimmy for picking that up. I thought the kid did a good job. He was basically saying, I got to wake up. I got to be better.
This is on me. So that's good. At least he's able to look himself in the mirror, and that's always a good sign of maturity. Yep. All right, next question. Sound the siren. Napoleon Dynamite. I mean, Eric Tulsi. Great mood. Are there any options in Carolina's cold? Good one, Sound the siren. He's good. Who's out there right now? I haven't heard names really on the goalie front. I think
it's just too early on that.
Yeah.
I think it's too early.
All right, we got one more question here on a Monday on the eye test. GB is going to close it out asking us, can Hudson play 82 games, playing 25 minutes a game? I say yes. He's young. He's fit. He can do it. Pierre?
If they don't have playoffs, he can.
Yeah.
I'd say if he was going to go into a playoff run, I don't think he could.
Yeah, back.
So I would tell you this, having done the job, there's certain guys you got to monitor. And it's not so much now, it's when they get to game 40. Mm-hmm. And usually 40 to 60 you see them fall back, especially for young guys who are just not used to it. The travel, the time zone, the bodies, the strength. Yeah. It's just, and as the season goes on for him, he's going to get targeted more and more and more, and that it's hard. So I would say a player like that, probably you're looking at till he's over 185, 190, you're probably looking at 20 to 22 minutes a game max.
Yeah. And Pierre, when you have to have that talk, I mean, say he's still putting up points, but you got to pull him back a bit. How hard is that talk with the player?
It's hard. It's really hard. I mean,
to make him understand you're doing it for him, you know?
You just got to let him know, like, this is because we respect you, and without you, we can't win, but we need you to be ready when it's winning time, and winning time's when the playoffs start. And, you know, we're at game 30 right now, and we're a playoff team. And right now, I'm just saying this is hypothetical. But I've had that talk with a bunch of guys over the course of my time. So, yeah, no, you got to have that talk. Yeah, it's okay.
All right. Well, listen, that's it for our questions. I want to thank you, the viewers and the listeners, for all your great questions. We love doing this. Again, thanks to everyone in Belfast. The list goes on. There's too many to list right now. But thank you to Friendship 4 crew, to Cara Group Travel, to the Belfast Giants. What an amazing time. Feels weird to be home, Pierre. I don't know about you. I'm a little off on the sleep thing, but
I went right to the rink.
Yeah, see, that's why I got to follow your footsteps.
My wife thinks I'm nuts, but I went right to the rink. The one thing that's really good is that logo that's on the right of us, the Friendship 4, that's staying there. Yeah, and it's staying there for a lot of reasons. Part of because of the way those people treated us and their vision for the game. Yeah, they have huge plans to expand the game significantly on the island of Ireland, both in the north and in the south.
I was trying to
And
tell Gary Bettman that yesterday, Pierre.
we're not going to go down that road, James. We talked about this before.
Yep.
Don't be the nasty leprechaun. Be the nice leprechaun,
I
Jimmy.
know. No, he was very nice. It was good.
Okay.
It was good. But yeah, it's amazing. Like I said to start the show, just the knowledge of hockey there, the passion for it, and to see it spreading was great to be a part of that. And by the way, too, Pierre, I keep going back to it. It was one of my favorite moments of the week was when we were able to answer questions from those kids from Boston to Belfast.
My gosh, that was awesome.
The
That was
questions they asked,
emotional. I don't know about you, but I thought it was emotional. I thought it was really good, actually.
it was, you know,
I had a friend of mine who's got a son playing junior hockey in British Columbia. He's got a daughter playing at an Ivy League institution. He's got another daughter who's going to represent the United States in the World Women's Under 18 in Finland this January. Wow. And so he was watching our shows from over there, and he sent me a note, and he said, that was just powerful to hear those kids. He thought it was awesome. And this is a really intelligent, smart guy. So I was like, wow, that's and his kids are all in hockey. I thought it was really good.
Yeah. The next generation. And you know what? Kudos, by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier before we go. Kudos to the Bruins. At the end of their ceremony, if you didn't see it, they did a whole thing calling on to the next generation. And
hey, did you? Down, I don't know if Jim.
It was really nice touch.
Yeah, no, that's great. I don't know if you saw what happened at Northeastern on Saturday. Willie O'Ree was over there, and it was really dynamic. I've seen the video and the pictures, and kudos to Mr. O'Ree. Phenomenal, obviously ambassador for the sport, but so many children there. It was really cool to see. And that's Jimmy Madigan, our friend Jimmy Madigan over at Northeastern as the athletic director, and Jerry Keefe, obviously the head coach, and his staff, Mike Levine, Matty Harlow. That there's a lot there. And it's not just, one or two schools. A lot of people care. And I think hockey's being used for the right reasons right now.
It really is. So that was an amazing trip. We'll treasure it forever and looking forward to the next one, Pierre. But we're looking forward to tomorrow when we host Ray Bork here in the podcast. He was part of that celebration on Sunday, and I'm sure he's going to have some interesting things again to say about Charlie McAvoy and the way he's upped his play as of late. For Pierre McGuire, I'm Jimmy Murphy, and for our studio back in Montreal, thanks to them, this has been another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.